G'day, it's Geoff Lewis here from Seriously Series. And in this video I thought I would address a key issue when you're out here in a remote area. And this is how to find water. I'm here in the Great Eastern Woodlands of Western Australia, which is in fact the largest Mediterranean climate woodlands in the world. Even here, where there are many gum trees like this one here around, it is still a very tough environment to find enough water to survive. So stay tuned to this following video as I show you a few little hints and a few little tricks. Water has been the lifeblood of every civilization since time began. And for here, the Aborigines in the Great Eastern Woodlands, it was no different. This tree here is known as a water tree, and it's a bit of an anomaly in this part of the world. As you can see, we've got 1, 2, 3 and 4 branches coming off one stump. The stumps, in comparison to these limbs, is relatively large. But the fantastic thing about this tree is it actually creates a bit of a divot, or a wooden bowl. Now, rain in this part of the world is quite sparse at times and very spasmodic. But when it does rain, it rains very heavily. And these little divots, or bowl-like features in this tree, actually fill up with water. This one here is not a very big one, but I have found others in the past that would hold at least 1 litre to 2 litres of water. Now, this is more of a traditional means of actually being able to find water. Obviously, you can make up a still and get water off a salt lake, or you can simply do the old trick of putting a plastic bag over a tree. But the thing I find with these methods is they don't yield enough water to actually keep you alive. It's at best 250 mils, so I don't know what that is in ounces, but it's probably maybe 5 ounces of water. So it's not really enough to keep you alive in, 100 degrees Fahrenheit or over 40 degrees centigrade. What the Aborigines did though, and many of the early pioneers, is they actually followed the rain clouds. And they would look up at the skies and they would see where the dark clouds were, and they would actually head for that region, because that's where rain was falling at that point in time. Other features in this part of the world is obviously the granites, and I'll show this in a following video. And these actually protrude out of the earth, and as the rain actually falls upon them, it then flows to the sides and creates a bit of a soak. So that's another feature. The other thing that, moving on with trees and what they can actually offer you out here too, is saplings. The local Aborigines used to get saplings and actually split them in two, putting a rock in between the two fragments of the tree. The tree would then grow around the rock, and every time they came back they would pull out the rock and put in a slightly larger one. Now, this actually created a wooden bucket, or a living wooden bucket you could say. Very similar to this tree here, but a lot more effective. Sadly, I haven't come across one of these, but you never know what will happen in the future. And if I do, I'll be sure to make a video on it also. But I think this is just a fantastic feature, and it just goes to show, when you're out there in the bush, don't look at the bush, look into it. Look into the environment, and that's when you find these fantastic, interesting little features. I hope you've enjoyed this informative video. As I always say, please click on the Patreon icon, and please join us on Patreon. By you contributing to us on Patreon, it helps for the generation of this content, and it means a great deal to myself and Damon. If you're new to the channel and you want to see more, please click on the subscribe button below, and I'll catch you in our next video.